Born of Fire. The exhibition covers 30 years of Shirin's career, but we selected four very distinct bodies of work that she has made between 1993 and 2023. And we wanted to have each gallery have its own sort of installation featuring one entire body of work. One of the galleries also features her collection, and we thought that was important to sort of show her championship of other artists, mostly artists from the Middle East, but also friends of hers like Robert Longo or Marina Abramovic. I would like to do the tour chronologically. You can then decide how you want to do the tour. There's a reason why we put certain works in certain rooms, and I can explain that to you along the way. But so I would like to start with Women of Allah, which we'll go through here. So Women of Allah is really Shirin Neshat's first body of work, and also the one body of work that immediately made her famous almost, overnight. So Shirin was born in Qazvin, a small town in Iran, and it's quite a religious, conservative town. She was always sort of listening to the Quranic chants. They had a house with a beautiful garden. So she kind of grew up in a very sheltered surrounding. And when she was 17, her father or her family decided to send her to America to study art. So she was in California studying art, studying painting actually, and but felt like she wasn't really a talented artist, moved to New York City, and got involved in the storefront for art and architecture with her then husband, Kyung Park. And that's where she sort of felt really intellectually stimulated and learned a lot about art and artists and living artists in New York City and so forth. Then the Islamic Revolution happened in 1979, and she couldn't go back to Iran for many years. She returned in the early 1990s and found a country completely transformed. One of the things that really shocked her was to see all the women covered in the veil, including her family members, her sisters, her mother. And she returned to New York and just tried to find a way for herself to deal with this dilemma. Because what she saw, on the one hand, was, of course, women being covered. It's kind of like you can't really see that, you're not allowed to see them, they're not allowed to express themselves. But at the same time, she felt like there was a certain strength underlying these covered women. So what she did, she posed herself as one of these women. Most of these women are her, it's her, and she put on the veil and held the gun because she saw many of these women fight for the Islamic Revolution or in the Iran-Iraq War. So on the one hand, these women were subjected to, wearing the veil, not having a voice, but on the other hand, they also had the power to kill. They were in these wars, and they were, some of them, very proud and very, convinced about what they were doing. So as you can see, the gaze is very important in Shirin's work. You always have that gaze, that looking straight at you, and then the calligraphy. All of these, or most of these portraitures have calligraphy written over the photograph, and these are poetry by contemporary Iranian women. So some of the scriptures are very much in favor of Islam, of devoting yourself to God. So this whole series is actually about martyrdom, what it means, to wanting to be a martyr, to sacrifice yourself for a cause, for a political cause. But some of these texts are by Iranian women who were the opposite, who pleaded for sexual freedom, who wrote very sensual poetry. So you have the stark contrast in these writings that she put over the photographs. This is interesting. This is her with her son at the time. Cyrus was a little boy. Again, you have this actually completely covered woman. You don't even have the gaze here, right?
But I asked you, she said that she was studying calligraphy too. So did she do some of these herself?
Yes, she began by doing them herself. Now she has one particular woman or several people working for her, but there's one particular woman
So
who...
they're actually drawn on, it's not like superimposed.
They are written, handwritten. They're handwritten. Yeah.
It's amazing how
Yeah, I mean, especially, you know, if you see these tiny little scriptures. Yeah, yeah.
But they're not written on the face, obviously.
No, they're written on the photograph. On the photograph, exactly. Yes, yes.
Corinne, can you tell which ones of these are done by conservative women as opposed to...
I can. I don't. I'm sorry. I didn't.
How did she learn how to do that?
She just...
Not as a child?
No, not as a child. No, she just started learning it while she was in New York. Yeah. When she started doing the series, she actually learned it as she was going along.
And as a child, she spoke Farsi? Or?
Oh yeah, she grew up speaking Farsi, which is the language of Iran. She still speaks it. Yeah.
So I'm just a little confused. So she came when she was 17
She came to the U.S.
to the U.S.
Yeah.
She did go back. You said at one point. Is that right?
Yeah, she came in the 70s, and just before the Islamic Revolution happened in 1979. So for many years, her family said, "Don't come back. It's too dangerous. It's unstable situation." So she didn't go back until the early 1990s. So she was here in California for about 10 years without going back. But she started going back in the early 1990s, and she went back several times. And each time she saw a society that was transformed. And when she did this series of works, she wasn't really thinking of, becoming a famous artist, but that's exactly what happened. She really overnight landed in the art world with everybody was like printing this work or showing the work. And so the Iranian government banned her work, wasn't allowing the work. And this is really interesting because she said, she was criticized from all sides. She was criticized by the Iranian government who felt these works were obscene, they were offensive. But she was also criticized by liberal women who said, why are you showing women veiled? Why are you doing this? And she was also criticized by Westerners, who felt like this is Orientalism or you're actually supporting the revolution. So I think to me that's proof that she's really a good artist because she did exactly what she wanted, what she felt. It's an expression of dealing with these issues for herself, resolving them for herself. She's not judging. She's not saying this is good or bad. She's just saying, this is what I saw, and it really affected her very deeply emotionally, what was happening to these women. And, looking at the plight of women has been sort of a through line throughout her work.
If you're able to watch the recording of the talk that she gave on Saturday with Corinne when it's available online, she really goes into this series and kind of the criticism that she faced, but she explains very clearly that this is a project of kind of like empathy, of trying to understand these women that she saw when she went back to Iran.
She was in the middle.
Yeah.
She felt both sides, so she was in the contrast or the conflict.
Yeah.
When did you meet her?
I met her in 1990.
Where? Art school?
No, we not in the art world at all. We both do African dance to this day.
Wow.
So I met her in class and we became friends. And I remember she was telling me, I'm not doing any art. I'm just working with my husband in the storefront, and she had the child. And then, after she went to Iran, I saw how she completely transformed, and this work became like, a life work for her. So, yeah.
How long ago did you invite her here?
This is it's an interesting question, because I think when you're so close to someone, you're hesitant to work with them because working with someone is very intense. But for some reason, this all suddenly became clear to me. I have to show her. And we started talking over a year ago, maybe even 2 years. We wanted to do the show last year, but we felt like it needed more time. And, we talked about which works we wanted to show, and how we wanted to show them, and so it was a conversation with her for quite a while.
This wouldn't be here without that connection. Thank you.
Not in this way, I think, because I've really known her and her work since the very beginning.
You're sharing it with all of us.
Yeah, thank you.
So all of this shown is her personal collection, or some
No.
borrowed from?
This is both works that she still has, but also works that are with the gallery. Yeah, so we collected everything, some that she has upstate as well. And it's interesting because some of these she hasn't shown before, like this one. This is actually one photograph she took in Iran. It's a very rare one that she took in Iran. And she wanted to have a background that shows this idealized European landscape, which Iranians love to be photographed against, this sort of dreamy European idealized world. And so she wanted to have that as a background and then, have her as one of the women of Allah's dressed up like that.
Is her family still in Iran?
Yeah, her mother, yes. Her father passed away, her sisters, one of her brothers lives in Las Vegas. So
So
she
how
has,
did she communicate with them after the revolution? When she was
by phone, by writing, and they would meet outside of Iran. They would meet in Turkey a lot. Yeah. So, yeah.
It felt like she had not really seen them for many years, but I guess that's not right.
She has seen them, outside of Iran. Yeah, but she hasn't been back since the 1990s.
wow.
Yeah. So, and so that is also reflected in this exhibition. From here, I would like to go to Book of Kings. I'm sorry, we're kind of zigzagging back and forth, but yeah.
I think whether the Quran, as I understood it, actually forbids adult men to touch a woman that is not their wife, including their own mother.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why I find that portrait so compelling, because once that little boy grows up, he's really, and you don't know whether he's holding her or she's holding him. But in the movie, not one of those men touch her.
Yeah.
That's a huge...
But children is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
And children are not sexualized. Children are just children.
Right.
So that's why that's all.
It's kind of in its future there.
Yeah.
And I would also just quietly maybe ask you this. Do you see this becoming sort of a political, and she's very political,
Yeah.
even though she says she's not. She
doesn't say she's not. I think, yeah.
I felt like she was trying to downplay that, to keep it from becoming, she definitely is. And do you see this as presenting a political?
Can I just answer that?
I think I think what she's saying is you can't be an artist without being political, and especially when you come from a place of such turmoil.
Well, that is true of all
Yeah.
artists.
Yeah.
But I think presenting this, just having the exhibit, is that saying?
I don't know. It's not a political statement. I think it's just showing how artists explore, political situations.
So that's the way to approach it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't feel like she's taking a political stance, but she's definitely looking at, political turmoil, and she's dealing with it in a very personal way. Yeah. Okay, so this is Book of Kings, which is sort of chronologically the next series that she did. And it's interesting because, and you just asked me this question about, is her art political? Her art is influenced by political events. And so the next political event that happened was the Iranian Green Movement in 2019, and then followed by 2009, followed by the Arab Spring, which exploded all over the Arab world, where protests against the regimes were held throughout the Middle East. she, when she learned about these protests, she thought about a poetry book from the 11th century by the Persian poet Ferdowsi, which kind of tells the legends of these dynasties, the Persian dynasties that came and went. And that's all pre-Islamic stories. And so this is a very big poetry book, and she felt that like this whole idea of legends, martyrdom, fighting for a cause, again, fighting for a nation, is completely connected. It's the same like 1,000 years ago. So she connected these two. The book is called Shahnameh, and it means the Book of Kings, translated. So here what you see is also a different approach to photography and the way it's shown and installed, because here, so that whereas in Women of Allah, each portrait had its own story, here the story is kind of told by several photographs presented as a whole. So on this side, she presents what she calls the masses. And so obviously there's many photographs and many portraits. Again, here, these people are friends. They are posing for her. But again, you see the gaze is really important in these photographs. And so the masses represents the people who are the regular people who go out on the street and protest. And again, you see the very fine calligraphy written over their faces. And these are again by women writers. On this side, you see the patriots. They all hold their hands over their heart. So these are the people who are actually dedicating their life or sacrificing, willing to sacrifice their life for their nation or for a cause. And that's why they're represented with their hands over the heart. And you see the calligraphy here is much thicker. And it's written in a way like it's written in the Shahnameh, so in these verses. So that's kind of a replication of the verses from the Shahnameh.
What is that? Like on each of them, it's all different?
It's all
Their
different.
Stories?
No, it's not their stories. It's poems and writings by Iranian women writers.
Are these from Shahnameh as well?
I don't think they're from I think these are from the Shahnameh, because they're written in the verses, in the form of the verses. But these I don't think so. I can double check. And then on this wall you have the villains. So these are the people, mostly men, who control the masses. And what they have painted on their bodies. So this is painted on their bodies, are scenes from the Shahnameh. So these are very violent scenes with atrocities, battles, this extremely violent history, right? That you have basically for every nation, for every historical tale. And that's what she represents in these three actually life-size portraitures, like where you have the entire figure represented.
Are they tattooed on? Are they permanent?
No, they're painted. Again, these are models. These are not, people that she knows. They're standing for something. But no, this was painted on their body, and then
These two.
again. So these reference what you see here. So these are just additional close-ups, if you will.
So women would never have anything painted on their bodies, right?
It's really, it's symbolic. It's, she chose men as representatives of power.
Yeah.
And that's why she chose these men as the villains. Whereas you see in every other series, you have women included. You have a woman patriot, you have women in the masses. But I guess the most powerful characters here happen to be men, which is often the case.
Are these one-of-a-kind photographs?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it was
The writing, yes.
It's unbelievable.
Yes.
The age range in that
Yeah.
great span, is that significant or?
I think she just wanted to have an age range, but most of them are younger. Actually,
That's
it's
what I'm saying, is they all seem to be,
I think that's representative of the people who protested in these movements. They were rather young.
Both genders, yeah.
But then on the top right, the woman, that's actually her woman, the person who writes all the calligraphy now. Yeah. Yeah, the top right. Yeah, and then I know a few of these people.
Were any of the models here that night, Saturday?
Well, she was here. Yeah. And then I don't see anyone else who was here on Saturday. Yeah.
And these are models. These are not actual people who would identify as.
No.
But those are patrons.
No.
Oh, they're
Everybody.
models.
They're all models. So
Got it.
up to now, she's working with models. She's working with people, friends that she knows, who pose as a character. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because she's in the US, she's not taking pictures of Iranians.
Well, that's also, well, exactly. That's also the way she works. I mean, many of these people are obviously of Middle Eastern background, and many of them are Iranian. Yeah. Yeah.
This is where I cried.
Yeah. So from here, I want to go to Land of Dreams.
Is it Michelle? I'm sorry, I didn't get her name. She's new. She mentioned about not touching these.
Yes,
They're not-
Michelle. Yeah, yeah. It's very important not to touch these because they're not glazed.
They're not glazed.
Yeah.
Are the ones in the other room, they were under glass, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, do we have everyone? So after living many years in the US and not being able to go back to Iran, she felt that she was losing touch with everyday life in Iran. And she felt also that she had to start looking at America, where she was living. And also she had been criticized that, she was talking about Iran without really having been there in such a long time. So in 2019, and again, this was kind of like, somewhat influenced by the elections, Trump was in power, and she felt America had also changed. She decided to travel to New Mexico for her new body of work. That was in 2019, and so she traveled through New Mexico, also because she likes to go to landscapes, to areas where the landscape kind of reminds her of Iran, and Iran has a lot of desert-like areas, and New Mexico has these kind of, landscapes. So one body of work was the series of photographs that you see here, and what's really different here is that she photographed real people. So these people are not posing as anything or anyone. These are the people that she encountered. And she felt also New Mexico was very diverse. It's one of the poorest states. So as you can see, most of these people are probably from, the lower classes or working classes. And the way she found them, she went to a pizza place and just waited and kind of asked the people who stopped by if they wanted to pose. So she took a lot of photos. Pizza, like a pizzeria. And I think the pizzeria owner is also somewhere. Oh, he's the guy there next to the tattoo guy to the left. So that's the owner of the pizza shop. So she then also asked these people about their dreams. So because her whole idea with this body of work was about America being a land of dreams, because she also said that's, how they thought about back in Iran, America was this sort of mythical place, where all your dreams can come true. So what she realized by asking these people was that their dreams or their hopes or whatever are actually very similar to Iranian people's dreams or fears or thoughts. And she also felt like actually a lot of people felt a lot of fear. And so what she did, she took these ideas of these dreams and loosely transcribed them, but also referencing a book, a Persian book that features dreams. And so she wrote down these dreams on these portraits. And you can see also some drawings. So these drawings are from that book.
What was the book?
I don't know. It was again, I think an ancient poetry book that she found and that she felt inspired by, and where she could sort of cross-reference some of these dreams.
Did she record them telling you dreams?
I would imagine. I'm not sure, but I would imagine she recorded. Yeah. And so the big writing on the bottom, that's their name and their date of birth in Farsi.
That's
Yeah.
the person's in the
The
photo.
person, so it's their name and date of birth. Yeah.
And where are their dreams written, or are they written?
So they're loosely translated, and again, she references that book of dreams.
When we see the writing behind
Yes.
there.
It's a loose interpretation of their dreams that they told her. Yeah, exactly. So then what she also did was she created a 2-channel video video works from that trip. And so this was sort of the beginning of what she then developed into a feature film, which is what we're going to show here on August 10th, The Land of Dreams, which is a full-fledged feature film. But the storyline is basically that of an Iranian art student. So it's kind of her alter ego traveling through New Mexico and asking people about their dreams. And it turns out in the film that the Iranian woman is a spy. And she reports back to a colony that's hidden in the mountains where these dreams are being interpreted. And, this is what you see here in this 2-channel video. This woman going around New Mexico and knocking on people's doors and collecting their dreams, and then going back to the colony where she tells the people there what these dreams were. Sorry?
When was that film? Was it released?
So that was 2019, and the whole project lasted 2 years. So from 2019 to 21, so also during the pandemic, obviously. The feature film was the last of these 3 bodies of works that she did. Yeah.
Which one won the Venice Film Director Award?
Women Without Men, yeah, which was based on a Iranian woman writer's novel.
Okay, that was before. That was earlier.
That was the first one, 2009. That was the first one that she did. And that was, again, based on a political event in Iran when the democratically elected President Mossadegh was ousted and America reinstalled the Shah. And so there were lots of protests. And that's also something that she was talking about on Saturday, is like, America has a lot to do with the turmoil in my country, And I think this series was really done because she felt like the Trump era changed a lot in America. And so she felt like she started to see things happening here, censorship and so forth, that she had experienced in Iran. So
How did she learn how to be a filmmaker?
she just learned it by doing.
Almost. Wow.
But I feel like Shirin, even if you look at her photographs, they're so cinematic. She has a sense of, art direction, of choreography, and again, she's a dancer, right? So I think a lot of that comes from there as well.
She first started working with moving image in 1998.
Yeah.
And shifting from strictly working in photography to working in film and video. And she talked about on Saturday, you asked her a question about her interest in that shift or working with both. And she said that in photography, you kind of have one shot, right, to make a really impactful image. And that's, it's static, it's powerful in and of itself, but with the moving image, she could kind of play with, bring audio, sound is very important to her practice, just like poetry is important. She's very interested in music as a kind of emotional force, so that allowed her to bring that interest into her work as well.
Right, storytelling.
Storytelling, yeah.
And this is the first, that's true, yeah. This is the first series that she incorporated multiple different mediums into the same series or idea. So where you have the photography installation, you have the 2-channel video, you have the feature film that Corinne mentioned, but it's all kind of circling around the same series landing page.
So do you know her before this? What was her last show, and where was it?
So she had a major retrospective in LA at the Broad in 2019. And so this is really the first solo museum show in the New York area in 20 years. The last one was at the Asia Society over 20 years ago, I think 2003. So this is very significant for her, you know, to have this show.
Have her films been in film festivals?
Yeah. Definitely, yeah. So many of them have been in Venice. I think all of them have been shown in Venice, and they have been shown in you know, movie theaters. I mean, they're feature films, but they're very artistic. I mean, if you come back on August 10th, you'll see the storyline is kind of like all over the place. There's several storylines, and you know, they're not straight narratives. So they're kind of like an extension of her video work, I would say.
And is that just going to be shown one time on August 10th?
Yeah, yeah.
Why can't you get that Southampton Playhouse to?
I want it to be here. I want people to come here. I mean, I think it would be great if they. No, but you're right. Maybe they'll show other films of hers. That would be great. But yeah, that one I want them to come here, and Shirin will be here, and we'll have a Q&A. Good. After the film. Yeah. With Shoja? Yes. Yeah. So it's interesting. Turbulent was I think 1998, and that's where she first collaborated with Shoja. But yeah, so Shoja appears in Turbulent in that video where you have the man singing with an audience in the back, and the woman who is Susan Dahim, also an amazing singer.
I'm sorry, please. Thank you.
So, you know, that's when she met Shoja. And Shoja has been working with her as an artistic director in all of her films. So they work very closely together. Yeah.
I want to make sure her name is Shirin Neshat.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And how do you pronounce where she was born?
Kazvin. Yeah. Kazvin.
Have these people ever seen their photographs?
Yeah.
I mean, has it shown where?
I don't know if they've seen it exhibited, but I'm sure she's shown them the photographs. Yeah.
This actress is
Sheila Band. Yeah, she's amazing. Yeah.
haunting.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, she's great.
The signature dates, I notice sometimes there's an upside down triangle. Sometimes it looks like a heart.
I think that's just the numbers in Farsi. It's like their date of birth.
Yeah, like here.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And the woman playing in the film in the other room, was that hers or?
That is also an actress she's been working with. Yeah. So let's go into the spine, and we'll talk about the Fury. This is an interview I did with her, so it's an abbreviated version, and it's kind of like telling the whole story about these 4 bodies of work. So if we go here, so in the early 2020s, Shirin became aware of one particular case of a former prison ward in Iran who was arrested in Sweden and accused of sexually abusing political prisoners, women political prisoners. And that inspired her to do The Fury. And so this is actually, the video was shot in her Brooklyn neighborhood in Bushwick. So the first time she actually shot something right where she lives. She again made this series of photographs sort of representing the female body as a battleground, you know, for all kinds of things. And so we kind of wanted to have these right here in the spine, so you're really facing them and you're facing sort of the emotional pain that these women feel. And again, you have the writings on their body, over the photographs of their bodies. And then, so the video is, again, it's a fictional narrative of a woman who was a political prisoner, who was abused in Iran. She's now in America, she's free, and but she's not really free from her trauma. So she has these flashbacks of dancing in front of these uniformed men, and she runs out into the street naked and sees her neighbors, her neighborhood, who come to her rescue. They feel her pain. And again, it's all stylized, of course. It's a fictional, narrative. But these people feel her pain and they get enraged. So that's why the fury, right? And you'll see they start throwing things and destroying things in the street just because they empathize with her. And it's really interesting what Shirin said. After she made this, she said that she feels like if she had to run out onto the streets and for whatever reason, that neighborhood would come to her rescue. So it's kind of like another way of saying she really feels like this is her home now. Yeah, she has arrived. Yeah, yeah.
And I think the stylization of the film makes it so much more like Erin and I were in there just couldn't move and we were crying.
Yeah. And you hear the sound, the music, the singing is very important in her work, in her video and film work. It's, and so an interesting little side story, she worked with one of our dance teachers to do the choreography at the end, and some of the people in the film are our dance pals. Yeah. No. No. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So, do you have any other questions?
No, but thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, we have to go to her. Oh, actually, completely forgot. Yeah. So Shirin is also a champion of her fellow Iranian artists, many of them women artists. She really wants to help them, to provide a platform for them. And so she has done shows where she curated exhibitions with Iranian artists. And she also collects many of these artists. And so we decided to have one gallery with these kind of works. And, some of them are from Iran. Some of them are, this particular artist is Egyptian. And she said she just saw that on the market in Cairo, and she doesn't know who the artist is, but she was so taken by, obviously, this political satire, and that's something that she obviously feels drawn to. Another political satirist was Ardashir Mohassez, which is on this wall, an Iranian cartoonist who criticized the governments. He criticized the Shah, he criticized the mullahs. So he was always like a critic, a strong critic of whichever regime was in place. And she said that he was persecuted, and in the end, he died really poor and destitute. But she obviously wanted to have his work, which is really, it's beautiful. I mean, there's such an energy in these works. And then friends of hers, Robert Longo, who was a very good friend of hers, did this portrait of Mahsa Amini, who was murdered in Iran during the Green Movement. Then Marina Abramović, as we all know her, and sorry?
Did she hand him those photos?
No, these were by another artist, obviously portraits of her, and they they colored them. Yeah. And this is also an Iranian artist. Don't remember the name. Sorry. Niki Nojumi, yes, exactly. Paolo Canevari, an Italian artist. Kiki Smith. And then on the other side, this is Matt Dillon, who is also a friend of hers, and various Iranian artists. And then these very old works, very, very old prints from Iran that she had. She had more, but they had mold, so we couldn't show all of them. But these are really beautiful, and I think also speak somewhat of her heritage. This is an Iranian woman artist who lives in Brooklyn, and Barbara Friedman. Yeah.
About the Louis Vuitton scarf.
Yeah.
This is the first time she's kind of seen these displayed altogether.
Yes.
Because they're mostly in storage in her studio, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it took her a while to, gather them all. She had some in Brooklyn, some upstate. We framed many of these. So it's really the first time that she sees her own collection like presented this way, which I think is really beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
She's really beautiful. She looks like Liz Taylor.
Yeah, she is. Yeah. Do you have any other questions? Well, thank you.
Was she thrilled?